What you see here is a $5,000 penthouse. This, on the other hand, is a lavish penthouse worth exactly $250 million. Most people think a penthouse is just the apartment on the top floor. It isn't. The word penthouse covers a range so wide it's almost meaningless. On one end, it's a slightly nicer two-bedroom that happens to be up high. On the other end, it's a $250 million trophy that sits empty most of the year and exists mostly to store wealth. Same word, completely different realities. So today, I'm breaking down the 7 levels of penthouses, from the ones normal people can actually rent, all the way up to the ones that aren't really homes at all. And somewhere in this list is the exact point where a penthouse stops being a place to live and starts being something else entirely. Let's start at the bottom. Level 1, the Technicality penthouse. This is the entry point, and it's the one that annoys real estate purists the most. A level 1 penthouse is just the top floor unit in an ordinary building. Maybe it's 6 floors up, maybe the ceilings are a little higher, maybe there's a small private terrace. The listing says penthouse because that word adds rent, and the landlord knows it. There's nothing wrong with a level 1 penthouse, but functionally, it's a regular apartment with a better view and a marketing budget. You're paying maybe 10 to 20% more than the unit 2 floors down for the right to say the word. Who actually lives in a level 1 penthouse? The marketing executive who just got promoted and wanted the lease to feel like a milestone? The couple who searched specifically for the word penthouse on Zillow and didn't realize the search filter doesn't actually mean anything? They walk into the building and the elevator goes all the way to the top, and that feels meaningful. In most American cities, a level 1 penthouse rents for somewhere between $3,500 and $7,000 a month. The same range as a slightly larger unit 2 floors down, just with the word on the lease. This is the level most people will actually experience, and that's fine, because everything above this gets expensive fast. Level 2, the developer penthouse. Now we're getting somewhere. A level 2 penthouse is purpose-built. When the developer designed the building, they designed this unit to be the prize at the top. Bigger floor plan, wraparound windows, a real terrace instead of a balcony, upgraded finishes, sometimes a private elevator landing so you don't share a hallway. This is the standard luxury penthouse you see in mid-tier new developments in most major cities. It's genuinely nice. It's genuinely expensive, often 2 to 4 times the price of a standard unit in the same building. Pricing here is wide because the cities are wide. A developer penthouse in Austin or Nashville lands somewhere between $1 and $2 million. The same unit in Miami or Chicago runs 2 to 4. In Manhattan or central London, the floor starts around 5 and climbs from there. The unit is the same idea everywhere. Top floor, better finishes, a terrace that's actually usable, but you're paying for the city as much as you're paying for the apartment. But here's the thing about level 2. It's still part of the building's normal logic. It follows the same rules as every other apartment. It's just the best version of them. Level 3, the full floor penthouse. At level 3, you stop sharing your floor with anyone. The entire level is yours. The elevator opens directly into your home. There are no neighbors on your floor, no shared corridor, no one walking past your door. You've bought privacy as a physical fact, not a feature. Full-floor penthouses are where square footage gets serious. We're talking large, genuinely spacious homes in the sky, often with 360-degree views, because every wall is an exterior wall. A full-floor penthouse in a building like 432 Park Avenue, the pencil-thin tower on Manhattan's Park Avenue, runs about 4,000 square feet per floor and sells in the range of $40 to $60 million. The same footprint in a top-tier London or Hong Kong tower lands in similar territory. The math stops being price per bedroom and starts being price per view. Every direction you look is yours alone, and you're paying for the fact that no one else gets the same angle. This is also the level where the price stops making sense to most people. A full-floor penthouse in a desirable building in a major city is a multi-million-dollar asset. You're not competing with apartment buyers anymore. You're competing with people who could also just buy a house, and they're choosing the sky instead. Level 4, the Duplex and Triplex penthouse. Level 4 is when the penthouse stops being a floor and becomes a structure. A duplex penthouse spans 2 levels. A triplex spans 3. You have internal staircases. You have a home that has an upstairs and a downstairs, 50, 60, 70 floors in the air. Some have private terraces on multiple levels. Some have double-height living rooms with windows 2 stories tall. At this level, the penthouse has its own internal geography. You can be in a different part of your home and not hear anyone else. That sounds simple. It's the entire point. The Triplex penthouse at 220 Central Park South, the building Ken Griffin bought into, covers roughly 23,000 square feet across 3 floors, with private terraces on each level. The unit sold for $238 million in 2019. That number isn't an outlier, it's just the public version of what Level 4 pricing actually looks like at the top of the band. Most Level 4 units don't get reported because the buyer's name is on a trust, and the trust is the address. Level 4 is also where the buyer pool gets thin. There are only so many people who want this and can afford it, which means these units can sit on the market for years, not because they're not valuable, but because the number of qualified buyers on Earth is small, and it's about to get smaller. Level 5. The Trophy Penthouse. Level 5 is where we cross the line. A trophy penthouse isn't bought to be lived in, it's bought to be owned. These are the units at the top of the most famous buildings in the most famous cities, the addresses people recognize by name. The price isn't driven by square footage or finishes anymore. It's driven by status. You're paying for the fact that there is exactly one penthouse at the top of that specific iconic building, and now it's yours. The penthouse at 157 in Midtown Manhattan, the duplex at the top of the plaza. Number 1, Hyde Park in London, the Aman New York Residences. These are not addresses you find on a real estate app. They get traded quietly between people who already know each other. The buyer is the kind of person who owns 3 other homes already and bought this one because they wanted the building's name on their proof of residence document, not because they needed somewhere to sleep. Trophy penthouses regularly sell for tens of millions of dollars. Many of them are owned by people who already have several homes. They might spend a few weeks a year here, sometimes less. This is the level where a penthouse stops being real estate in the normal sense. It's a collectible. It's a flex with a deed, but it's still not the top. Level 6. The Supertall Penthouse. Level 6 only exists because of engineering. In the last decade, a new category of building appeared. The Supertall. Pencil-thin towers that go up far higher than anything before them, built specifically so that the units near the top could be sold for record-breaking prices. A Level 6 penthouse sits near the top of one of these. The views aren't city views, they're horizon views. You're looking down at other skyscrapers. The amenities in these buildings are extreme. Private restaurants, full-floor spas, staff on call, services that blur the line between an apartment and a permanent hotel suite. These penthouses sell for prices that used to be reserved for entire commercial buildings. We're well past $100 million at the high end of this level. Here's the part most coverage of these towers leaves out. Supertalls don't exist because anyone needed a taller building. They exist because the price you can charge per square foot doesn't increase linearly with height, it accelerates. At floor 90, a square foot might sell for 4 times what it sells for at floor 20. So developers in the early 2010s figured out that if you build a tower thin enough, you can stack the expensive floors on top of each other instead of in the middle of the building. The whole structure becomes a delivery mechanism for ultra-luxury inventory. That's why every Supertall built since 2014 looks like the same building. Pencil shape, single column of expensive units. The architecture isn't a style, it's a pricing strategy. And the buyers here often aren't buying a home at all. They're buying a place to put money, an asset that happens to have a bedroom. The penthouse at level 6 is a vault with a view, which brings us to the last level. Level 7, the penthouse that isn't a penthouse. Level 7 barely fits the word. At the very top, you get units that have stopped pretending to be apartments. Entire multi-floor sections of a Supertall sold as a single residence. Penthouses with private pools cantilevered into the sky. Homes with their own dedicated staff floors, their own internal elevators, their own security infrastructure. And at the absolute peak, you get something stranger. Penthouses that are essentially private compounds stacked vertically. The owner controls a slice of a skyline. The Sky Penthouse at Tour Odéon in Monaco is the example people in the industry quietly point to. 5 floors, roughly 35,000 square feet. The unit was reportedly listed at 330 million euros. That's around $360 million at current rates. It has, as of public reporting, never been confirmed sold. Not because no one can afford it, because the kind of person who can afford it doesn't transact in ways the public sees. There are maybe 20 units like this on the planet. Most of them have never been listed publicly. The owner negotiated the build during construction, and the address became their address before the rest of the building was even framed. The price tags reach into the 200s of millions, and at that point the number is almost theoretical, because there are maybe a few dozen people on the planet who can transact at that level. A level 7 penthouse isn't housing. It's not even really an investment in the normal sense. It's infrastructure for a specific kind of wealth, the kind that needs somewhere to exist that is private, secure, recognizable, and scarce. That's what you're actually looking at when you see those headline-grabbing sales. Not a really nice apartment, a different category of object entirely. So, what does a penthouse actually sell? Here's the pattern, now that you've seen the whole ladder. At level 1, you're buying a view. By level 3, you're buying privacy. By level 5, you're buying status. And by level 7, you're buying a place for wealth itself to live. The penthouse never really changes. It's always just the top of a building. What changes is what the buyer needs it to be. The higher you go, the less it's about the home, and the more it's about everything the home represents. Most people will only ever experience level 1 or 2, and honestly, a great view and a good terrace is a wonderful thing to own, but it's worth understanding the rest of the ladder, because the next time you see a penthouse sell for a number that doesn't make sense, you'll know it was never supposed to make sense as a home. It was never being sold as one. That's the 7 levels of penthouses, from the top floor apartment all the way up to the ones that touch the sky. If you want more breakdowns like this, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.